recording has begun and the people are now on their way in. Good evening, everybody. For those of you I saw at noon doing the other one, I haven't been drinking since, I promise. And we'll get started in a few minutes here, just as we let some people in. And I'm all set to make some cocktails. We're going to be able to see Winestillery. Could everybody mute themselves? I'm actually getting quite a bit of feedback now. And I will ask you that if you have any questions, to ask them in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on it so that the gentleman from Winestillery, I'll be asking you guys, Enrico, and guess what? Anais didn't give me both your names. I apologize.
Nico and Enrico.
I'm Nico.
Rico and Enrico. Grazie.
No problem.
And okay, so I think we're good to go. Oh, I think a fellow named Richard. Thank you, Richard. If you needed to say something, Richard, please just type something in the chat, and we'll be happy to do that. We're about 5 o'clock here in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, and we've got members from across Canada, so it's evening and afternoon, and we've got the fellows from Winestillery. It's late evening over there, so thank you for staying up, fellows, and being willing to talk to us. And I'm looking forward to making some cocktails. We are talking about the Winestillery premium spirits. I've got the ones here that I bought last year, and and so I'll be making some of that today. And I was really excited to see that we have some new products on it this year too. So I'll be able to extend my bar and have all of that. So we'll be doing that with both kinds of gin. We'll make some cocktails, but why don't we just get started, and over to you, gentlemen, and you can show us your beautiful still and your beautiful place there, and talk about how you go about making these wonderful spirits that I absolutely love. I just did my last minute picks for this. I did a video yesterday and said, there's no place in my bar anymore for Grey Goose. It's all going to be Winestillery vodka. So there you are. So over to you, fellas. Go ahead.
So, hello everybody. It's a big pleasure for both of us to be here with you. Thank you for all your interest, your passion that is bringing you with us tonight. Thanks, of course, also to our opinion friends that for all their support and for the beautiful collaboration we have from the last almost 6 years. So, welcome to Winestillery. It's a very beautiful new project from our family. It's a beautiful new distillery in the heart of Chianti Classico. As probably some of you already know, we are also a wine producer, and we start to work with Opinion as a wine producer. But from the last few years, we also start this beautiful and amazing new project that my brother here will introduce in the best way, since he is the master distiller and is the guy that dreamed this nice and beautiful project for us. So I will leave to him, and see you later, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Don't worry, we will find Enrico just after the tour of the distillery, because he will be ready at the bar for the cocktail experience. So if I will be too talking, I'm sure the cocktail in the end will compensate the listening that I will do the first time. So thanks again for being here with us, and I have the honor to explain you a bit more about our production, how Winestillery was born. As Nico said, we are deep in the heart of the Chianti Classico region. We are in Gaiola in Chianti. So for those who are familiar with the Chianti Classico, Gaiola is the municipality, the small village where the Chianti Classico was born. In this area that is so traditional, we decided to add something that is new as a key of reading of our beautiful terroir, which is a distillery. It can sound weird, but we still are the only one, the only distillery operating in this beautiful territory. And we are one of the few craft distilleries all around Italy. So we are very proud of this craft and of the territory where we work with. Winestillery basically is a merge between a winery, as you said, and a distillery. So the idea behind Winestillery is to produce terroir-driven products. So we want to interpret terroir in unconventionally local products. That's why we produce gin, vodka, vermouth from wine in this area. When we started to create and think about Winestillery,
the wine distillery.
so we want to be very clear and straight on saying how we do things, and especially in saying what we do not do during our production. And to do so, we decide to write down a contract, which is our rules of production that we call the Grape to Glass Manifesto. The Grape to Glass Manifesto that you can see here behind me is a simple contract where we have wrote down our rules, which are 8 simple rules. The idea on the production is to follow a simple way of production, working the best way we can, which is the natural way. So all our spirits, all our vermouth, all our products in Winestillery are 100% natural. It means that we don't add anything to the product. We distill the best way we can to enhance the quality of the natural ingredients. And after that, we don't add nothing. So we don't add, for example, colorings. We don't use caramel. We don't use aromas. We just use useful ingredients, distilled, and all that we add is just the water when we have to proof down the product. So now you can follow me. We will do some steps inside the distillery. And when, of course, we talk about the gin, the vermouth, one of the essential ingredient are botanicals. So when we speak about botanicals, our choice was to work, of course, in the tradition of the area. So it means for us, of course, sourcing the best ingredients in the Tuscany region, and at the same time, working also with the botanicals that are part of the story of Tuscany. Of course, juniper berries are known here in Tuscany to be the best qualitative ones that we can source and find all around the world, and we have been very lucky for this. So you can understand and guess that for us it was a huge surprise living in an area that is so traditional for the production of wine and having such great quality ingredients like juniper berries or iris fruit, since Tuscany is the biggest production area in Italy for these ingredients, and not finding a distillery. So that's why we decided to build one. And of course, also when we started to think about our still, we wanted to have something that could mirror and reflect also the craft that we had in mind. And that's why we are really strict with a manufacturer of stills that is Tuscan too. And he has just 100 years old history of manufacturing beautiful stills. So now let me introduce the real main actor of this production, which is Bacco. Bacco is our pot still, is a custom-made copper pot still that was built to distill in a very different technique. Basically, you can distill in all the techniques that we know in non-continuous distillation. So the idea behind Bacco was to create a perfect tool to enhance the quality of our raw ingredients. All the spirits produced in Winestillery originates from wine, since wine is the most traditional ingredients that you can find and source in our region. And we wanted to have the perfect tool to distill it and get the raw expression of our ingredients. So for those who are familiar with distillation, you can see behind me the Bacco has multiple areas. So the main part, the body of and the heart of Bacco is the pot still. Is here where we charge our alcohol that originates from wine. We have juniper berries and all the other botanicals when we distill the gin. And one of the particularities of Baco is that it can distill with the two classic techniques of gin combined at the same time. So usually when we speak about distillation of gin, we say that there's two techniques, the Carteret technique and the Bennett technique. In the Bennett technique, we infuse the botanicals in alcohol. We let them macerate and then we distill it. That's a way to extract the essential oils and the aromas from the botanicals. The second technique is the Carteret technique. The Carteret technique, known also as a vapor infusion technique, you have a basket that is used to keep all the botanicals together, and the alcoholic vapors goes through the botanical inside the basket and extract the oil, essential oils and the aromas that is inside. Baco, this guy, can distill at the same time with these two techniques, so the Bennett technique and the Carteret technique. At the same time, as you can see, Baco has also a column of distillation. So it can combine also this technique of distillation, which is really useful for us to get the quality of our alcohol and to work also during the distillation of the vodka. Also, the vodka is really unique. It's a wine originate vodka. It's a super silky and super precise. At the same time, it has such complexity compared to the classic vodka that you can find from the big brands. Also because the quality of the ingredients, so the wine at the base of the distillation, has a unique characteristic that reflects also the spirits in the distillation. And compared to the classic vodka that we can find, is a really product that is originated from precise distillation and without any compromise in terms of correction or change of the product. For example, none of our spirits are chill filtered because we want to keep the quality of the ingredients inside. We don't want to make it a thin, skinny spirits. We want to keep it a full body expression. It's not filtered with carbon, for example, as all the vodka usually are. So it's a really intense and characteristic spirit. During the distillation, which takes for us between 8 to 10 hours, our goal is to extract the maximum quality of the botanicals we have during the distillation of gin, or of course the ingredient, natural ingredient, which is the wine for the vodka. And after the distillation, our products stay at least 1 month in the still tank, or in the case of the Old Tom, in the barrel, to rest, to get the perfect full body expression of the spirits, and to get it ready to bottle and stay 1 month more before the release. When it comes to Old Tom, of course, since we have spoken about this, the way we have interpreted this production is quite unique. As I told you at the beginning of our talking, I said that we wrote down a contract, which is the Grape to Glass Manifesto, which is our rules of production, which bounds us and doesn't allow us to use correction. So for those who are familiar with the history of gin, the Old Tom is a specific style of gin that was popular during the gin craze period. Gin craze period was a really crazy period in terms of quantity of liters gin drunk per capita, so per person. We say that around 60 liters as an average per person, which means they were very thirsty at that time. And of course, those problems of heavy drinking found an opposition in the government and the parliament that tried to reduce and slow down the consumption, which was very, very extreme. So one of the way was to, of course, create laws against the production and the consumption of alcohol that was named the Gin Acts. So during the maximum expression of this fight against the consumption of the gin, at a certain point, the gin was not allowed to be produced. And of course, this didn't stop people to produce gin. They just produced it like in the dark side of the law, so without permission. Of course, the product wasn't very fine. So the easy way was to add sugar to cover the bad mistakes of the distillation. We don't add sugar if it's not mandatory by law. So the way we produce our Old Tom was a different way. We found the sugar taste, but not the sucrosity, so from the ingredients, from the botanicals. So through the distillation, we give this sensation of sweetness without having sugar added. And the rest in a barrel that aged Sangiovese for 5 years before aging also the Old Tom is a big plus also for us to let us extract also the aromas from the wine and give more roundness and sensation. As Michael said before, this year we have also a couple of new products that we have just released, and we are very proud of them. One of these is the Vermouth Dry, and the other one is the Bitter. So last year we had already in the range and still have the red Vermouth. Vermouth is a unique product really traditionally linked to the history of Italy and north of Italy and specifically Piedmont. But lots of people knows that also Tuscany has a huge history in terms of production of vermouth. And we work on these roots to start again to produce the vermouth the old way. And when I say the old way, I mean that when we produce a vermouth, so either if it's a red wine, so a red vermouth or a white vermouth, we want to be the most severe that we can. So our red vermouth is 100% red grapes, which sounds weird that I underline this, but you have to know that a majority of the vermouth that you can find and buy, so the red vermouth are produced with white grapes, then it's add caramel. And of course, this is not what we want. So red vermouth, 100% Sangiovese grape, easy. The majority of the botanical that give bitterness is the absinthe herb. The absinthe herb that in German language, the old German language, it was named vermouth. So it's like in the gin production, the gin comes from juniper name. And when we started to think about the dry vermouth, so it's a classic product, for example, known for the martini lovers, the martini cocktail lovers. We wanted to root it to our tradition of Tuscany. So we use traditional white grapes, the Trebbiano grapes, and we wanted to produce it working on two different techniques. So we work with the Trebbiano grapes that are harvested in normal time to keep the freshness, and we work with a still time fermentation to give a nice fresh acidity from a side. Another part comes from a late harvest Trebbiano grapes that is then fermented in an oxidative style. So it's a very interesting product because it has these two salts combined that brings this product between the French tradition and Italian tradition in terms of dry vermouth production. The second product that we are releasing this year is the Tuscan Beater. For those who are familiar with the cocktails, the Beater is one of the main products used in lots of cocktails, and of course is one of the 3 ingredients of the first cocktail sold in the entire world, which is the Negroni cocktail, that by chance was invented here in Tuscany 100 years ago by the Count Camillo Negroni. So the bitter basically is a liquor. It's similar to Amaro, which is a traditional product in Italy, that is used in the aperitivo traditionally. And as I said, is also one of the ingredients of the most known cocktail of the Italian culture. When it comes to the bitter, when we think about the bitter that you can find in the market, of course you can easily imagine the bitter with this classic red color that comes unfortunately today for the majority of the case from artificial color. That's, of course, something that we didn't want to do it. So we tried to produce bitter, which is a from a side, really traditional, and from the other side, the most pure expression we could. So only 100% natural ingredients. Also, the color comes from natural botanical infused. A nice bitter sensation, but especially a really interesting impact on the raw expression, that a really clean profile in terms of taste and aromas. So I don't know, Michael, if already I see
that was pretty slick. I didn't interject because that was the perfect talk, and you touched on many of the things I had questions about what Old Tom is differently, and you've talked about that. And as I say, I've got the sweet vermouth, and I'm looking forward to buying the dry vermouth this year. And you know, I think we should talk a little bit about the fact that vermouth used to be essentially only added to cocktails, and now it's quite the rage to drink it on its own. And I can tell you that the sweet vermouth that you gave us last year, it's just so gorgeous. The nose on it, and just to put it on some ice and drink it on its own is just incredible. Just love it. So
Thanks, Michael.
so thank you. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat, but I'm not sure we'll have any because you've covered that so perfectly well. It's really good. And it's such a beautiful place to look behind you with these gorgeous stills that you've created. And they do incredible things, right? That's I love that idea of the basket with the herbs in there, that they certainly come through in the liquor. There's no question about that. And maybe it's because we're a wine club and I'm so wine based, that the Sangiovese that makes this that you mentioned was just it comes through, right? It's a familiar but different. So I just love it. It's just great. So.
Thanks,
So, how long do spirits last once you've opened them? Asked Simona and Paul.
When we talk about specifically spirits, so a distilled product, 100% distilled product, the shelf life is so long. I mean, because for two reasons. The alcohol content, which is very high, it's 42 degrees, so it's high in alcohol, so you don't risk to have oxidation, of course, or you risk it in very long times after a couple of years. And at the same time, since we don't chill filter, our gin are full of essential oils trapped inside the alcohol. And these help also to give a long-lasting age of during the shelf life, you can speak. So I would say for the spirit itself, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If you keep it in the correct way, you don't have risk to ruin the product. The same happens with also the other product, vermouth and bitter. But please keep in mind that we don't use preservatives. So it's 100% natural product. So the product evolved, changed more compared to the conventional industrial products. So of course, when you think about the Sangiovese vermouth, so our red sweet vermouth, you will find that in weeks, in months, once you open, it can change. Of course, compared to the wine, you have more alcohol because you add alcohol, you have 18 degrees, so it's already this helps to have a longer life. And at the same time, you have the natural essential oils coming from the botanical are infused inside that will add also anthocyanin components and polyphenolic components that will have like antioxidants products so itself. So it has a long lasting too. So I would say also in the vermouth and the bitter, don't be too afraid. You will see that it will change, but don't be afraid of this.
And I would suggest, and you alluded to it about the storage, is for the same things with wine, you want to avoid wide swings of temperature, right? You want it in a stable temperature. It doesn't need to be necessarily cool, but you also don't want it in direct sunlight, right? You'd want to keep it away and that sort of thing. So, but I haven't used my preserve. Like I don't put nitrogen over top of it. It seems fine. For in about the year it'll take me to get through the bottle. So I think that's fine.
The best advice we can give also to the best way to keep it is to drink it fast.
That's right. And get another bottle. Exactly right. No, that's quite so. So, shall we make some cocktails?
Of course.
Yeah.
So follow me. We will go back to the bar and we will meet Enrico again. I'm sure you will already prepare all we need at this time. It's a perfect time for the aperitivo at home for you, and also it's a perfect time for us to have a drink at late night. So let's see. We will see in particular two different products, so two different cocktails, and which is the Cardinale and also the Tuscan 75. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Hi guys, can everyone see me?
I can, certainly, yes. I think we're good. And I might say to people that if you want to see that bigger and you have it on gallery view, you can actually go to the top right and change your view to speaker view, and then you'll be able to see them make the cocktails much bigger. Yeah. Off you go.
So let's start with our twist on French 75, the Tuscan 75. As first, we always like to chill a little bit the glass before to...
And we should say that I'm going to make this along with you very, very ad hoc. I couldn't find my shaker or anything, so I've got my ice here.
Wouldn't be a big problem. So, first of all, we need to pour our shaker with some good ice. And we start with the spirits. The spirits we are going to use from distillery is our autumn.
Gin.
Autumn gin. Here we are.
So when you're doing 1 ounce, 25 milliliters?
5 milliliters of our autumn gin. Then around 12 milliliters of fresh lemon juice.
Now this is very important. Our recipe on page 37 of the cellar has 125 milliliters of lemon juice. Don't do that. It's I showed this to the fellows before we started. I said, there's no way it could be this much lemon juice, and I was right. It's only 12 milliliters, not 125.
Here we are. And then we finish with some homemade sugar syrup.
There, and I've also got, if you don't want to make your own at home, I've got President's Choice simple syrup from the grocery store.
Let's do around 1 bar spoon of sugar syrup. Here we are. So guys, ready for shaking?
And I'm doing this.
So at this time, our glass will be enough chill. And we gently put this in our glass.
So, and you've got that in a coupe, and I saw that in our recipe we have it in a flute. That'll work too, yes?
Yeah, it can work perfectly with both. So to finish this cocktail, following our recipe, we need to use our spumante Ora Rosa. It's 100% Sangiovese spumante. It's an early harvest on Sangiovese grape. 100% of the grape are harvested by hand, and then it works as long Charmat method. It stays and it's aging on his own yeast in still time for 3 months before bottling. So we'll have a nice smoothness and roundness in the middle of the mouth, and very, very gentle and finesse speaking about the bubble. It will be also the perfect match because we'll put our Sangiovese in our wine just distilled. So we put together the same product. Here we are. And we finish topping with this.
There, and I didn't have any rosé sparkling, so mine's not going to look the same color as yours, I'm afraid. But
fresh
and
oil of lemon skin. And here we are. Cheers. I think since I'm driving, my brother will enjoy it. I don't know if trust me enough to drink it, but let's see.
If you don't mind, I don't like to waste cocktails. So cheers.
Cheers.
that is so delicious with the play between the gin and the sparkling wine. Magnifico.
Happy to hear. So, as a second cocktail, tonight we have Cardinale, our own interpretation of this very famous cocktail. Again, we let the glass be chilled by the ice, sorry. We will need a steel glass at this time, so we fill the steel glass with ice. Here we are. Then, different gin, London Dry, dry vermouth, and in the end, our Tuscan Beater. So let's start with the gin. 30 milliliters of gin. Here we are. This cocktail is very nice. I like it very much because you have easily a well done twist of one of the most famous cocktail, the Negroni. So it's a nice way to have a different cocktail still in the same mood of Negroni for people that like the Negroni style cocktail. But it's the cocktail the most sell in the world, so I think you like a lot around.
It is extremely famous.
So, same measure, sorry, for our vermouth dry, so 30 milliliters. And we finish with the last 30 milliliters of our bitter. Here we are.
Wow. I can't wait to try that bitter.
Just enough to let mix it. There we are. And this will be our Cardinale.
Beautiful color.
To finish, orange zest and nice squeeze of natural orange oil. And here we are. Cheers.
Cheers. That's beautiful. I look forward to, I'll make that one with you next year.
I'm looking for that.
And does anybody have any questions about the bartending or any of these wonderful spirits? I can tell that you two are very adept at making cocktails. You do them every evening there at your bar, don't you? Even though it's still just the two of you. Yeah. Are you open yet again? Are you able to bring in people into your space? So, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, we are planning an Opimian trip to Italy in the fall of 2022. So we'll make sure to make you one of the stops for sure.
That's great. Very looking forward to have all of you here.
I can't wait to learn all about cocktail making from you in person. That'll be great. Yeah. Well, that's brilliant, gentlemen. Those looks like no questions. You've covered it so well. you know your product so well, and you've got so much passion for what you do, what you make. And I can't tell you how fortunate we feel as Opimians to have access to your products here in Canada. So thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, and Darren's asking, when will the Italy trip be announced, Anais? That'll be you and me. We're just starting to build it now. We've got a French trip in the spring. Italy will be in the fall, and we'll probably get that out by April or so. And we'll be talking to you fellows about dates and that sort of thing. So that's great. And if anybody on the call would like to sign up, just send an email to Anais at events@opimian.ca, and we'll put you on the list and keep you apprised as we create that trip. So thanks again, gentlemen. Cheers to you. Cheers to all the Opimian members. Thank you, Anais, for running the board. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your evening or night.
Grazie.
Bye-bye.
Grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.